Hi, I'm Azelle, obviously from the upcoming. Lovely to meet you both, and congratulations on a fantastic film, The Elephant Queen. So if we could start by perhaps saying how you got involved in this project together, and what led you to tell the story of these magnificent creatures.
I think what drew us to this story was that we'd been filming in Africa for 30 years, always making wildlife films, but we'd never made a film about elephants. But in that time, we've seen how elephants interact with small creatures like dung beetles and chameleons and things. And then we were filming in Amboseli National Park in 2009, 2010, when there was a terrible drought. And what we saw was how the elephant matriarchs, the female leaders of the families, were just so caring and empathetic when it came to their families. How they cared for when in the most terrible times when babies were dying, but how they essentially held the whole family together. And so we thought we want to tell a story centered on one of those amazing matriarchs, but also to then show all the sort of smaller animals that are part of the ecosystem and which are so tied to the elephants in some way.
And how long did the filming process take from start to finish, and where exactly was it again that you shot, and what radius roughly did this cover?
It took us 4 years of living in the wild in Tsavo East National Park in Kenya. We were with a tiny team. Mark did all the cinematography, and while he was filming, I would be editing. It was... Sorry, can you ask that question again?
So how long did the filming process take from start to finish? Where exactly did you shoot, and what sort of radius roughly did this cover the area?
So the film took us 4 years of living in the wild in Kenya with a tiny team to make. And we were in Tsavo East National Park, which is in southern Kenya.
And Tsavo is a vast area. It's the size of Massachusetts. It's something like 14,000 square kilometres. And we were trying to follow one family in that park. And there's a lot of the area which you can't actually move around in because it's either volcanic lava or it's escarpment or it's thick bush. So it's very much us trying as best we could to follow the story of one family.
Okay, and were Athena and her herd aware of your presence while you were filming? And did you get quite close to her? Did you feel you built up any kind of trust within that herd?
I think we did build up trust. And what happened was, we found Athena after a year and a half of searching. And we found we came into camp one day and she was standing in the shade of a tree behind the kitchen tent. And when she sort of turned round and we saw those amazing tusks and we saw the makeup of her family, which was small with tiny calves and that, we thought, great, we've really found our family now. And then it was about trying to, yes, elephants do know you're there. And what would happen was we would go out every day in a vehicle with a camera on the side, a 4x4, and we would follow them. And we'd try not to get too close, but if we ever did get too close, then if the elephants looked up and they acknowledged our presence in some way, then we'd back off. And then over the weeks, we get slowly closer and closer and closer. And we cut that distance down from about 70 yards to 30 or 40. And then the one time when we knew we'd gained their trust was when I was filming at the base of a small hill, and Athena left her calf Princess and walked, it seemed quite deliberately, around the front of the vehicle to the other side. And I thought, crikey, at that stage, two things can happen. Either it's a test, in which case I can't move the vehicle, I've just got to sit there, or she's made a mistake. And in that case, you're then between an elephant female and a calf, which is not a good place to be. So I just froze. And after a minute or two, Athena rumbled and Princess looked up, saw her mum was the other side, and sort of went very slowly around the front of the car. But from that day on, we had the most amazing access. It was like this was a test, and we'd passed it.
Oh, which isn't always the case, obviously, because as we know, there's no doubt the image of elephants and poachers go hand in hand. Was it something you yourselves encountered while you were filming, any sort of threat of violence to you guys? Or?
Yeah, we certainly saw the rise in poaching as the price of ivory went up, so did the poaching. And in the end, in one area, we were actually started outside the national park, and in that area we found we were actually sharing waterholes with poachers. So, and we got to a stage where actually injured rangers were being brought into camp. Our assistant director, Etienne, flew on several occasions rangers out, had them dying in the plane. We were right in the middle of it. And because we were helping, we were then probably vulnerable to becoming, a target. So we decided after a while we couldn't work with the elephants. They were just too nervous, and it was hopeless. So that was when we decided we needed to move it into a national park, into Tsavo East.
And the amazing thing about elephants is they know where they feel safe. So we were seeing the same elephants, 40 miles away, but once they were inside a national park, then their whole demeanour completely changed. And they would be relaxed, they'd be out in the day, where we'd been previously, they'd only come into the waterholes at night. And so, it was impossible to film. But suddenly their behaviour changed, they were relaxed, and we could get close to them. And from that day on, that really drove the film and the story there.
And obviously you did all the cinematography. And what were some of the tricks that you used to kind of get, you've got some really lovely low-down shots, and obviously you've got some fantastic footage of really extreme weather conditions.
Yeah.
So what are the tricks that you guys...
all sorts of things.
It was amazing with that weather, with the really extreme weather. That happened, once in 4 years?
Yeah, it was so rare. And what we do is,
every time we thought it was coming, we'd dash out. Yeah. But, often it didn't build up enough, did it?
And we'd had the plane rigged, essentially, ready to take the camera. And so when we saw a storm coming, we'd race for the airstrip, get the camera on and get up as soon as possible. I had one time when I was up with the camera assistant, Pete Kalis, and we'd been waiting for this dust storm, and we saw it coming. We got to the airstrip just before it hit the strip, got up in the air, and then it was great because we could see this huge storm rolling in. It picked up the dust, and it went up sort of hundreds and hundreds of meters in the air, and we were flying around, filming, and it was great. And then we looked around for the airstrip. We were starting to run low on fuel, and actually we couldn't see the airstrip because it was just dust all over underneath us. And at that stage, we did one of two things. We couldn't go to that airstrip. We didn't have enough fuel left in the plane to get to any other airstrip. So it's like, okay, we know there's a dry lake bed there. We'll head for a dry lake bed, and if the worst comes to the worst, we'll just cut the engine and glide down and see if we can go down through the dust and land on the lake bed. And then just as we were doing that, just as I was setting course for this lake bed, we looked down again, and luckily the storm had cleared the strip, and we landed on fumes. But we got the shot, and that was what was important.
And then at the opposite end of the scale, when we want to get down and film at elephant toenail heights, we built a metal box just about the size that would take Mark and a camera and a tripod, and buried it underground so that there was a letterbox slit for the camera, for the lens to go out of, but that was then at water level or at ground level, so that we could get that angle. We wanted the little guys, we wanted to be down on their level when we were telling their part of the story. But anyway, we would put Mark in it, close the metal lid, literally, and for 12 hours he would stay in there
and
roasting.
Aren't you kind?
So we used all sorts of different techniques too.
But that was the worst, I think, of everything. Because you're in there and it's so hot. You've got a metal lid above you in full sun. It's just beating down on your head. And the worst thing, my one fear in that box was that every morning we opened it and we'd find that frogs and toads had leapt through the thing, and they were sitting in water, a little pool of water in the bottom of the box. And I know that cobras love frogs and toads. My one fear was that I'd be in there, wide awake as normal,
You're right.
and a cobra would come into the box because they love to hunt in sort of dark areas. And I just thought, the prospect of having a cobra in a box with me, without either it or me being able to get out, I just thought, that was the one thing that kept me awake.
Yeah, fully petrified. Okay, and my final question is, what do you hope that viewers will take away from this film?
We hope that people will fall in love with elephants, so that what is an emotional story will move people to love them, care for them, and want to share the planet with them. Because if we don't all do something, we will not be sharing the planet with elephants. We will wipe them out.
Well, it's a very emotive tale that you've managed to get through in your film, and it's wonderful to see. So thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you. Thank you.